Hi everyone, this is Maya Zahira with Psychic Protection Sanctuary, and we are now starting our Facebook Live. I have a really interesting topic that we're going to be covering this time, and as usual, I've got a whole bunch of notes that I am going to be referring to, so I hope you don't mind. And as usual, we will have people joining at the beginning here. So as you join, if you could let us know where you're joining from, that would be fantastic. And I see we have Debbie watching. That's awesome. So as people are joining, I'm going to go ahead and just jump right into the information, so we're not just twiddling our thumbs and waiting. So just a little quick introduction for those of you who are watching the replay, and especially if you are new to me and to the services that I offer. And hang on a second. All right. I forgot to turn the heater off, and in just a minute that'll turn off and it won't be making so much noise. So my name is Maya Zahira, and I have a practice out here on the Kansas prairie. So this is my little house out on the Kansas prairie, but most of the work that I do is online. So I do a lot of teaching online, as well as one-on-one sessions with people via online video. So if you want more information on the work that I do, helping people with unwanted paranormal activity, psychic attack, psychic protection issues, light workers and empaths who are dealing with oversensitivity issues, I help with all of that. So if you want more information about that, you can go to my website, www.psychicprotectionsanctuary.com. Okay, so we have some people joining, and we've got Debbie Lewis from Liberty, Missouri, Dina. So as you're joining, everybody, let us know where you're joining from. And then we have Anne from Trail, British Columbia, Canada. So we have some of our regulars on tonight. That's awesome. Out here in Kansas, it is now getting dark super early. We're definitely into the winter weather, actually. We've got snow on the ground. It's the second week of November, or the third week. I forget what the date is today, but we're getting close to Thanksgiving, and it's feeling like winter. And I don't know about you guys, but when it starts to get dark so early, it feels like it's really dark. It feels like it's 2 o'clock in the morning to me. So my body and my brain are trying to adjust. Welcome, Lauren. Lauren is joining us from Colorado. Phyllis is joining from Kansas City, Missouri. Awesome. Welcome, everybody. So let's jump right into our topic. And you can all keep introducing yourselves as we go. And then also, if you're watching the replay, go ahead and introduce yourself as well. Sound good? Okay, so today's topic is all about illness and psychic attack, illness and psychic protection issues. And Rose is joining from San Antonio, Texas. I bet it's warmer for you guys than it is here. It's super cold. Okay, so illness and psychic attack. I'm kind of jumping into this video at first, assuming that you have an idea, just a general idea of what psychic attack is. But let me just give a basic definition. And a psychic attack is any time negative energy, negative intent is being sent your way. It can be sent from a person or from a spiritual being, like a ghost or a demon or something like that. And so with a person, it can be sent intentionally or unintentionally. So intentionally would be like if someone is a practitioner of the black arts, of whatever flavor of black arts, because there's many, and they are intentionally doing spell work, doing a curse or a hex, etc. to bring bad luck or ill will onto a person. So that's intentional psychic attack. Unintentional psychic attack involves a person just simply having very negative, strong emotions or thoughts that are being projected towards you. So emotions and thoughts are super powerful. They are energy. I mean, it's all energy is magic. There's really no difference. So when someone is really jealous or really angry or really whatever the negative feelings are, then they are feeling all of that and they're sending all of those toxic thoughts your way. Then if you're not strong, then it's going to end up being received as a psychic attack, and it will have negative effects, which I'll explain to you in a little bit. And Lauren is saying, yes, I have had that for the past 12 years. So exactly what have you had for the past 12 years? A personal psychic attack or entity, if you don't mind sharing. And then, so we have intentional and unintentional psychic attacks that can occur. So we've gone over that basic definition. So it's when negative energy, Lauren, from your ex. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. That can happen with, ex-spouses, ex-boyfriends, girlfriends, former friends, former coworkers, current coworkers, colleagues / competitors. If they have a competitive mindset, they're thinking of themselves as a competitor rather than a colleague. All of those kinds of people can have what they think is a good reason to be sending negative energy. And Lauren is saying, I don't know, to be honest, I am brand new to most of this. Well, I'm really glad that you are here. And the more that you absorb all of this stuff, the more it will make sense. And also, I forgot to mention this, but this is a good announcement for everybody that this Facebook Live is happening on our Facebook group, Psychic Protection Sanctuary. But I always post all of the replays of these Facebook Lives on my YouTube channel, which is also called Psychic Protection Sanctuary. And you can just go to youtube.com and type in the menu or type in the search bar Psychic Protection Sanctuary. And there are, I haven't counted how many hours, but there are many, many hours of free classes, introductory information like this. And you can just click on whatever you feel like you need, because what one person on here needs isn't what another person needs. And then, of course, if you want to go deeper, those are my paid programs. I forgot to mention that I have tons of free stuff online. I do that intentionally because I do charge for my work, and not everyone who's having emergencies can afford to pay. So that's why I've gone out of my way to provide a lot of free content. But the reality is that if you want to go deeper, then like the how-to, the nuts and bolts, the more intermediate to advanced content is on my paid programs, which is on my website, psychicprotectionsanctuary.com. Okay, enough of that. But Lauren, welcome. So glad to see a new face here. And I do hope you'll go to the YouTube channel. You'll find a lot of stuff. So I'm not sure if this topic is what you need or not, but I know you'll find what you need on the YouTube channel. And welcome, Erin. Good to see you. Tell us all where you're joining from. All right. So far, we have defined what a psychic attack is. I do have videos where I go more in depth into that, where I really break it down, all the different types of psychic attacks. And that's on my YouTube channel, Psychic Protection Sanctuary. Okay. So that's our basic definition, just with the understanding that it's negative energy being sent your way. Okay. And let's just think logically here. If you are experiencing illness, because our topic here today is illness and psychic attack. So if you're experiencing illness, just being logical here, that you might consider that being ill, whether it's acute illness or chronic, it's probably going to weaken your energy system and your ability to protect yourself. And I'm going to talk about that. That's the second thing that I'm going to talk about. So I'm going to split this up into illness, cause, and effect. So illness, so having an illness can be part of the cause of a psychic attack, or it can be part of the effect. Okay, so let's talk about the cause. Now, by cause, I don't mean that the illness itself directly causes you to experience a psychic attack or to have unwanted paranormal activity. It's more like a chain of events. So let's say someone becomes ill with a chronic condition or something more acute like cancer, or they've gotten into an accident. Let's say the accident had normal causes and it was not part of a psychic attack. Just for simplicity's sake, they have an accident, they're in the hospital. Sorry, it's winter time. I was outside. I got a stuffy nose now. And those of you who follow me, you know, it's like, I'm always keeping it real. It's never polished, right? Okay, so let's say you're in the hospital, you're recovering. So illness can be a lot of different things. It's like you've gotten into an accident, or you're dealing with something chronic or acute. This is not going to apply as much to just your common cold if you have the sniffles for a couple of days. So we're talking about severity and length, okay? Now, if you catch a cold and it turns into pneumonia and you're hospitalized for a few days and it's taking you several weeks to recover and your whole system is in a weakened state, then this is going to apply, okay? So anytime, just think of it this way, anytime the illness or condition is causing your body to be in a weakened state, that is also having an effect on your energy field. Now, your energy field is that part of you that extends beyond your physical body out here. So your aura or your energy field is about arm's length. So if you were to reach your arms out, outside, side to side here, I know you can't see my arms, but if you were to reach them out from fingertip to fingertip, that's about how wide your auric field is. And imagine that distance going around the whole boundaries of your body. Now, sometimes your aura might be a little smaller. Sometimes it might be bigger and more expanded. Let's say you're out in nature and you're all relaxed. It might be bigger and more spread out. But generally, it's going to be about arm's width. Okay. And you would have your normal set point of how much energy and personal power and protection you have around you, just as your natural set point. But if you become ill, then your energy field, imagine it as like a protective bubble, it becomes weakened. So it's not as strong as before. So your energy field is weakened. And so then there's two things that can happen. First of all, any psychic attack that may have already been coming your way from, your family member or coworker or colleague / competitor who's sending you competitive energy, someone who's jealous of you, an ex-lover, anybody in your life or anybody's, right? So like lots of people. I found that once I became aware of this, I realized that I was because I'm a very sensitive empath, and you may be too. If you're very sensitive, and there's a lot of people sending kind of like, maybe not intense rage or hatred, but a lot of people sending like jealousy energy or hoping that you will fail kind of energy, because they are very lack oriented, right? They don't believe that there's enough for everybody and they want you to fail. So if you have a lot of those kind of people in your life, I call those people the people who are poking holes in your boat, who are drilling holes in your boat while they're watching you frantically try to to use buckets to scoop the water out. If you have people like that in your life, it's having an effect on your energy field. But if you are strong and healthy, then and not overly sensitive, because some of you might be strong and healthy, but you have sensitivity issues, and that's a whole other video. You might want to watch my empath survival tips for that kind of issue. But let's say you have your sensitivity issues in check, you're healthy, and there's a few people sending you some bad juju. You're going to be fine. In fact, you might not even feel it or notice it at all, and it just kind of bounces off you because your natural defenses are in good condition. But if you are sick, or not just dealing with illness, but let's say you're going through a major life transition, someone very close to you dies, or something tragic happens in your life, or you lose your job and you're having like major stress. So whether it's illness or some other major stress or trauma, then your energy field, your natural protective bubble is in a weaker state than usual. And then those little mini psychic attacks, as a clairvoyant, I see them as little like tiny arrows coming and poking holes into your aura. They will be able to get in more easily. For me, it's very visual, but if you're not clairvoyant, it might be more of a feeling, right? Where you can feel the other people's energy. So it's easier for psychic attack to have an effect on you when you're dealing with a serious illness. And so that doesn't mean that if you are sick with something, that you're automatically going to be psychically attacked and bombarded. It doesn't mean that at all. It just means that illness is one of the things on the list that includes many, many things. There's lots of different things that can set you up to be more vulnerable to psychic attack. And illness is just one of those things. So if you're more vulnerable, then you just need to go out of your way to make sure that you're grounding and centering and doing some more active self-protection and clearing protocols on a daily basis. Whereas someone else who's not going through illness or trauma or things like that might be able to get away with less, right? So it's just a vulnerability, and there are things you can do to adjust for that. Also, if you're going through an illness, then not only is it easier for psychic attack to get to you, but you, and I don't want to freak y'all out, but you know, I don't sugarcoat. I do want to tell you that you do become an easier target for entity issues, for unwanted paranormal activity. That could be a spirit or a ghost attaching to your energy field. It could be sleep paralysis, things attacking you at night. If you have never had anything like that happen before, then you're more on the safe side. But if you've had those kinds of experiences in your past, or you're currently living in a house, or you recently lived in a house that's haunted, and your energy is already primed for having these kinds of issues, unwanted paranormal activity, then the chances are greater that you'll end up having, that you may end up being a target for unwanted paranormal activity. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So Patricia is wanting to know what's a good protection for that. Okay, so I'm definitely not avoiding your question. I want you to know that. But it's not a quick fix kind of thing. I am going to give you the kind of a nutshell answer in a couple of sentences, but then I want you to go to YouTube and go to my Psychic Protection Sanctuary channel. And I have a couple of videos. I'm trying to remember. One of them is called something like Daily techniques for daily protocols for psychic protection, or something like that. I have titles on all of them. So there's 1 or 2 videos that talk about what I recommend that you do on a daily basis. But what I will say is that it is important for you to have a daily practice. With psychic protection, you can't just clean up the mess after it happens and then just visualize white light when a psychic attack is happening and then it all just dissolves and goes away. You have to be preventative and proactive, and you have to have a daily spiritual practice, whatever that might be. You could be any religion or spiritual orientation, or just sit in silence. It could be a yoga practice, anything, but you have to be connecting with your spirit, grounding, centering. If you believe in angels or guides, that sort of thing, that it's important, then it is important for you to be connecting with them on a daily basis, because then your relationship with them is established. And then if you happen to have any issues with psychic protection, that relationship is already established and the protection is stronger. It's just how it is. Because if you don't take the time to establish those relationships now, then when you're having a major issue, it's not that they're not wanting to help you. It's that those channels aren't really open, at least not enough. So you need to develop those relationships with what I call your spiritual support team. So go ahead and watch those videos, and it will give you really in-depth information, lots of nuts and bolts. And I'm really glad you asked that question, because I think that's important for everybody. Okay. And then again, once again, just FYI, that the video or videos on my free YouTube channel, they will definitely get you started for sure on a daily practice. Really good foundation. But if you want more, and you want more in depth and more filled out, then that would be go to my website and sign up for the programs. Those are there for you. Okay. Okay. So now, so we just talked about illness and psychic attack, and illness as a cause or as a contributor to you being more vulnerable, possibly, to psychic attack. It's definitely one of those things that you want to keep in mind if you are going through some kind of illness or health crisis. It's something that you want to attend to, especially if you've had psychic protection issues in the past. Okay. If you've had psychic protection issues in the past, it's almost as though it creates an imprint in your energy field that says, entities attach here, or attack, or easy target. It's like a bullseye, okay, above your head or wherever it may be. And I've seen this with every client that I've worked with who's having current psychic protection issues. I start to interview them, and we find out that they've had things in the past, and that is what has primed them for things currently. So the perfect storm would be if you've had reoccurring issues, or you've had issues in the past with unwanted paranormal activity or people sending you psychic attack, and then also you're dealing with a health crisis, then you've kind of got a double whammy happening there. And you'll definitely want to do a lot of proactive psychic protections, spiritual empowerment kinds of activities on a daily basis. Okay. All right. So that was about the illness being a cause or a contributor to psychic attack. And then now let's talk about illness being an effect. So I keep looking at my notes here. I've got a lot written down. So illness can be an effect of psychic attack. And what I mean by that is if someone sends you psychic attack intentionally or unintentionally, remember, it could just be somebody is really mad and maybe they might even be mentally unbalanced. And they're sending like so much anger or hatred your way. And maybe they're not doing like black magic or anything like that. They're just sending really powerful emotions. It can be received by you as illness. And I'll go into what some of those symptoms could be in just a little bit. So unintentional psychic attack or intentional, where a person is intentionally doing magical work, using the black arts. And again, I'm using that term today because it's going to describe the fact that there are many, many different traditions that incorporate both light and dark practices. So that doesn't mean that the entire religious faith, whatever the faith may be, fill in the blank, is evil, but there are dark practices. So let's say they're using a dark practice because they are mad at you and they want to make you sick or create bad luck or make your marriage fail or whatever. So illness can be a direct effect intentionally caused by psychic attack. It can also be caused by an entity attacking a person. And I'm going to give you a personal story of that near the end. So let's talk about some of the symptoms of psychic attack, how that could impact you health-wise. So first, let me start off with a couple of, I need to get a drink here. Let me start off with a couple of symptoms that are more emotional. Oh, hey, you guys, I bought something the other day that I totally did not need. I usually don't do that, but I'm officially a cat lady because I now have a mug that has cats on it. And if you've been to my house, I have a black cat and I have a gray cat. And I saw this and I was like, oh my God, those are my cats, Vashti and Katesh. So there we go. My cat mug. So I'm officially a cat lady. Not that I'm trying to be, but I'm just making fun of myself. Okay. So, where was I? All right. So Tina, I am going to get to your question in a second here. So some of the symptoms emotionally first, depression, anxiety, feeling crazy. Okay. Those are some of the emotional, things that can happen. But our focus here in this video is more about physical illness. And I do have a video that's all about psychological psychic attack. So look for that one if you want to understand more of the mental and emotional warfare that can happen. But because physical and emotional there's not really a distinct separation there. Depression and anxiety can be, chemically related or chemically connected in your brain. So there is definitely a physical connection there. But some of the purely physical symptoms can be headache, dizziness, numbness, pain in all of your body or in just one part of your body, a serious illness that eludes diagnosis or treatment. So a mystery illness that the doctors cannot figure out what it is. Okay. Or they can't figure out what it is and you can't seem to figure out how to fix it. But here's the thing. It can also be an illness that is diagnosed. That's something that's recognized by medical science. And so it can be an obvious diagnosis like cancer. And I've worked with a couple of clients who had this one I'm thinking of. This very evil person was very jealous and was sending psychic attack, and it was affecting the health. And so the husband got cancer and died. and then the wife had cancer and then contacted me. So it can be diagnoses that are recognized by medical science. Okay. It can be either way. So, but here's the thing we want to remember is that sometimes illnesses just happen for other reasons. Reasons of stress or lifestyle or genetics and, your ancestry. All of those can be normal, mundane reasons why a person could develop an illness. It's not always psychic attack. So if you're watching this and you're experiencing some kind of health crisis or ongoing health issue, there actually are many health conditions that do elude diagnosis as well, because medical science is still learning. And there's a lot of limitations to the medical field. Even then, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's coming from a psychic attack. So you kind of have to, be open-minded about it, but also be skeptical, right? And so just consider that it could be a cause of the illness. One thing that we often do, though, is that if someone is having a health crisis, they don't want to even consider that it could be spiritually caused. And so they'll be like, oh, no, that couldn't be it at all. It'll kind of enter into the back of their mind, and they're like, no, it couldn't be that. So they brush it away because it just sounds too crazy, right? But if you do that and it is actually spiritually caused, then you're not going to be addressing, the root core reason why this illness happened. So not only would you need to be continuing your course of action with your medical professionals, but you might also need to address some things spiritually. So did you notice I just threw in that little disclaimer there? So no matter what, you do still need to continue your course of action with your medical professionals. Don't just stop that high and dry because Maya said you might be experiencing a psychic attack. You need to be smart about this. But it couldn't hurt to also address the spiritual just in case, even if you're not sure. So you can do some spiritual clearing. And so let's say you're experiencing an illness, you're not sure if maybe your Aunt Hilda was sending you some bad juju, and you have a feeling maybe she did, but you're not really sure, and you think it might have contributed to your illness. Even if you're not sure, it would still benefit you to do some clearing work, because when you're ill, you need more protection anyway. So you don't have to send anything bad towards her. You just ask that, just do some clearing work to release anything that's been sent to you, and send it to God, or send whatever that energy is down to the earth to be recycled. Some of the more complex clearing protocols, that's the kind of stuff that I teach in my programs. So if you're looking on the YouTube channel and you don't see it, just FYI, just so you know. And I know we had a question here. Let me make sure. Yeah, okay. So I think that I covered everything on that. Now let's go back to Tina's question. And also, if you do have questions, now is a really good time, because I've covered a lot of content here. Tina is saying, how about a witch or voodoo practitioner who sends an attack onto your family or curses? So, yeah, it's basically what I already said. So you will need to protect yourself. You'll need to do some clearing. There are ancestral curses, and so there's two kinds of things you could be dealing with. It could be just a standalone curse where it's just affecting you, or it could be ancestral in that it's something that's affecting your whole family line, or all the women in your family line, or all the men in your family line, or certain people in your family line, and that needs to be addressed and released. And again, that that's definitely a more complicated issue. That's the kind of thing that I would have someone come to me one-on-one, or do the psychic protection mentorship, because there's a lot that you would need to learn in order to know how to address that. But I want to make sure I give you something here. I gave away the book that I had on my desk, but I'll just tell you my book, Psychic Protection. I just totally was starting to give you my website instead of my book. My book, Darkness Disguised as Light, The Hidden Truth About Psychic Protection and the Illusion Matrix. So Darkness Disguised as Light for short, by me, Maya Zahira. If you haven't read it already, it's under $20. You can get it on Amazon. And after you get, I think, about 3/4 of the way through the book, there are a couple of techniques, including a candle technique, that can definitely get you started on clearing out any ancestral issues. And Tina is saying her whole family. Yep. Yeah, it can affect an entire family. I think I'm going to do a video on that sometime. Let me make a little note here. Ancestral, because I could go down that rabbit hole right now, but I'm not going to. There's a whole lot that I could say about ancestral issues, information about how that happens and why, and I just wrote it down for a future issue, for a future topic. Debbie is saying, very interested in ancestral clearing. Yeah, well, Debbie, you're in my program, so you will get some tidbits and more information on how to do that. Lauren is saying, it makes sense, like total sense. My pregnancy couldn't be explained. All my symptoms, it was hell. They couldn't explain anything. I almost went blind during it. Wow. So I'm so sorry that you went through that, Lauren. The list of all of the different things, different types of symptoms and situations, there's a huge list. And so you just described even more kinds of things that can happen. I hope you've made it through that. It sounds like you have. I mean, I hope that the hardest part of that is behind you. Hope that that the birth went fine. Hope everything's fine. I would love to hear if everything went fine. I'm worried now. And Tina is saying that you have the book. Yeah, so go to the chapter on using a reversal candle. And then also, I know you've talked to me before about the mentorship program. That might be something you might think about. If I know in the future I'm not going to offer the same one that I'm doing now, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to be offering something else in the future. No pressure, you guys. You always know, like, I trust you'll know if it's right for you, and you're going to naturally gravitate to what's right. But I just want you to know what the resources are. Lauren is saying, yes, I feel I'm in recovery. Yes, she was born earlier, but was 100% healthy. Thank goodness. I'm so glad. So glad. And I see some of you are developing friendships on here, and that's awesome. You're saying hi to each other. That's cool. Okay, so I talked about illness being a cause or contributor to psychic attack, and illness being an effect of psychic attack. Someone sending psychic attack and literally causing you to develop an illness, or like it can be maybe a little bit of a gray area where someone has the genetic markers for a certain illness already, and maybe their body was healthy and they weren't going to get that illness, that those genes weren't going to turn on, but that psychic attack came along and had that effect where then it aligned the person's system for having that health issue. So let's see. And Lauren is saying that you did pass away during delivery and they brought you back. Yeah, that sounds pretty intense. I'm really glad that you're here. Very glad. And let us know what we can do for you. Briefly, I want to share 3 little stories of, actually, as I was writing my notes, I was thinking about, rather than sharing client stories, because I don't like to do that if I don't have consent. Otherwise, I have to be really vague about the issue, about the details, right? I want to give 3 little stories about myself that have happened in relation to some different types of illness-related psychic attacks. So, actually, there's 3 stories. Okay, so again, just really brief. Okay, so, and Phyllis is saying to Lauren, I'm glad you're here to take care of your baby. And yes, all of us are. So thank goodness, just wrapping you all in a bubble of protection and light. Okay, so story number 1. There was what I believe to be an unintentional psychic attack. And remember what I said about unintentional psychic attack is where someone isn't actually casting a spell. They're just really upset, and they're maybe they're not even trying to send energy, and they're not trying to project it, but they're certainly feeling a lot, and they're thinking about you. So there was a situation where I am sure that I'm believing that the psychic attack was unintentional, that it was not intentionally sent, but I am certain that there was some psychic attack sent from someone not long ago who was really upset with me, and she was really angry. And so what happened was the next day, I woke up with severe back pain. Some of you might remember my post. It was like a month ago or something. I woke up and I had to have friends come over and help me because I couldn't walk. And I was and am sure that it directly had to do with how upset this person was at me. She was really upset. And how it was received in my system was my spine was in so much pain. You know when you jam your finger, like you accidentally jam your finger, and it's this certain kind of pain. I don't know how to describe it. That's how my spine felt. Felt like my spine had been jammed like a jammed finger. It hurt so bad. It was like ugly cry, kind of hurt. It was bad. And I really could not walk for the first, I don't know how long. It was bad. It was bad. But we did a whole bunch of clearing that weekend. So we addressed it physically and spiritually. We did a whole bunch of clearing. And then I also had a massage, and the massage worker also did energy work on my spine. And we also put essential oils on my spine. We did a ton of stuff. I also meditated and cleared my own energy. It was still warm. So I went out and laid on the ground out on the prairie, spine against the earth. So we did all this stuff all weekend to clear it. And then by Monday, my back was pretty much fine. And by Tuesday, it was perfectly fine. So if I hadn't been aware of psychic attack and how it affects us, I would have just figured I just threw my back out. Because I think that does happen. Sometimes people just throw their back out. It's just a thing, right? But if I hadn't have known about how these things work, I would have just assumed that it was that, and I wouldn't have addressed it fully. And in my opinion, and I can't prove this at all, but in my opinion, I probably would have been in pain for a lot longer if I had not addressed the spiritual aspects of it. And again, I do believe it was unintentionally sent. I think it was just that I felt very connected to this person, and so there were already energy connections, and so it was very easy for that energy to come in. And so I cleared it, and I know some people, when they do clearing work, they want to send it right back to that person. I didn't do that. That felt totally unnecessary, because it just feels unnecessary. It's like, I don't intend that at all. So, I just worked on releasing it all. Um, realization. I got you guys back. Okay, good. Um, so a couple of things. First of all, uh, again, like I said, with illness, you kind of have to have an open mind, but also be skeptical, like being an open-minded skeptic, where you're looking at all the details in an observing sort of way and not just downplaying something. Not like, oh, of course it's not a psychic attack. But I had received a Facebook message, and the person was upset, and I could feel, I'm an empath, so I could feel how upset that person was. And then when I sat up in bed that day and my back was in so much pain, the very first thing that came into my mind was that person. And some of you know I'm also an intuitive. I do psychic work for a living. And so that was claircognizance, clear knowing. And also one of the connections, I don't want to give too many details, but the person has a spinal issue. So it was like they sent their issue to me. Like, I don't know if that makes sense. It was definitely weird. It was like, oh, let's see if you like feeling like how I do. It was that sort of thing, because I'm like, oh my God, my spine has never felt like that. It was bad. So it's just a matter of your personal judgment. You just like, sometimes you'll never know. Like, I won't ever really know. I can't prove anything, and it's okay either way. It's about clearing it and then releasing it. And clearing and releasing is good anyway. So I'm going to give two more stories. Shauna is asking, what are some other examples? So my second example is, what was this? Oh, okay. I was trying to remember what story it was. So here's an example of a time that I am certain that there was intentional psychic attack being sent my way. Now, again, this is true a lot of the times. You won't be able to prove that intention. You won't be able to prove it. You will not be able to. You won't be able to prove that psychic attack, or that it was sent intentionally. Even if the person tells you to your face, they could be lying, or just trying to like manipulate you. So you never really know if they've literally cast a spell on you. You don't really know that. So it's a matter of trusting your inner guidance. So there is, I have many stories, but I'm just going to tell you this one right here. So there was a situation that I had about 3 years ago, or 2 years ago. I don't know. It was around something like that, 2 or 3 years ago. There was I'm trying to be vague here. I always try to give as few of details so nothing is identifying, because that's not what this is about. There was a person, I'll call this person a colleague. There was a person who felt threatened by the work that I do and the things that I teach. The story, actually, I'm certain that it's going to be included in my second book, because this is, it's what happened when I went out and taught my very first workshop out in the community after I came out as someone who's doing psychic protection work specifically, right? So I'm all gung-ho and I go out to teach this workshop, and the person person who owned the place where I taught the workshop was, and this is in my opinion, based on my observation, she was very threatened by the content that I was teaching. There were things that happened. Again, this story would take too long if I went into all of it, but you'll have to read book 2. She was very threatened, and she did some, so there were 2 levels to this. She did some things that threw me under the bus after the workshop in order to hurt my reputation so that no one would believe anything that I said. Because if she could defame me and, destroy my reputation, then no one would like, then none of her followers would believe what I say. Now, I wasn't saying anything against her. I was just teaching the stuff that I teach in Darkness Disguised as Light. There were some things that I was teaching, though, that I was not intentionally doing this. I unintentionally pulled the veil off of some of the dark work that she was doing at her center. And she kind of freaked out and got scared. I think that she thought it would hurt her business. Again, I would never intentionally call somebody out like that. I go out of my way to not do that. That's not my task to do. I'm not carrying that responsibility or burden. But it's hard to be really vague with this story, you guys, and have it make sense. But anyway, she was very threatened. And so she did some things to hurt my reputation. She sent out an email to a bunch of people saying, all this bad stuff about me that was not true. It was really ridiculous. And then, but I didn't know about that email until a couple days later. What I did know was that the next day, after I had taught out at her center, the very next day, I woke up and felt horrible. My head, it wasn't a throbbing headache. It wasn't like that. It was just that I had brain fog really bad, and my whole body was radiating pain. I didn't have the flu. I wasn't sick. It wasn't for like any of those normal reasons, right? And I was like, where is this coming from? And I just felt like oppressed. And and then in hindsight, now let's see, it was like a week into that okay. So I felt that way the day after. Sorry, this is confusing. So I felt that way the day after, really felt physically ill. And then like 2 days later, someone forwarded me the email that she had sent out to everybody. And that's the only way that I found out about it, was this like horrible email. And I was like, I sat and I meditated about it, and I saw, again, I'm clairvoyant, so I saw her in my mind's eye. I saw her doing spell work with candles. Shauna is asking, do you think it was intentional or unintentional? Again, I can't prove this. And when you have, hopefully you won't have any of these situations, but if you ever do, you'll have to go with your gut feeling, and you won't be able to prove it one way or another, but you'll be pretty sure that you know if it was intentional or not. And I'm pretty sure it was intentional, because when I meditated and I tuned in, I could see an image of her doing candle magic, using candles and doing a spell against me. And then she also took like actual action in addition to magical work, and she sent out this like a horrible email about me, saying all this weird stuff about me, and I would have never known about it except for that somebody forwarded it to me. And so that's an example of an intentional, or what I believe was an intentional psychic attack. It wasn't too serious, but if we're not aware of these things, all we might know is that we just don't feel right that day. Oh, I don't feel right. My emotions feel really off. My brain is all foggy. My body hurts. And we just never know, like, oh, I'm just having an off day. Well, now that you have more information about psychic attack and how that can affect you physically, now you will put that in the mix as you're trying to figure out, why am I feeling this way? Oh, could it be that person who was so angry with me a couple days ago? Or could it be this? Or could it be that? And again, you don't want to get paranoid about it. You want to have this balance of being like open-minded skeptic, right? Of just weighing everything. Don't just deny things before considering them. And keep an open mind. And a lot of times you'll never know for sure. But if you suspect anything, then you do need to go and do some spiritual clearing and spiritual protection. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Story number 3 is more intense, and it's a briefer story. It's pretty short and to the point. That other story was hard to tell because I'm trying to be really vague, and I don't want to give too many details, but I want it to make sense. But it is going to be in book 2. And as always, I change the details of who the person is. So there's never any identifying information pointing towards anybody. Because again, that's not how I roll. The third situation that affected my health was an entity attack. So the first 2 examples I gave, first one was what I believe to be an unintentional psychic attack. That I believe was pretty innocent. It was just someone's inner shadow got stirred up. They felt hurt and upset, and energy got sent unintentionally. I think sometimes some intentional can get sent in there too. Have you ever been angry at somebody and been like, I hope they suffer? And you're not thinking, I'm trying to send psychic attack. You're just mad, right? So it's kind of, anyway, I do think the first one was unintentional, sent from a person. The second one, the story that I just told about the person where I taught a workshop at her place, I believe that was intentional, sent by a person. The third story is about illness that was caused by an entity attack. And this is the first story that I tell at the very beginning of my book, Darkness Disguised as Light. And it's the story, and if you've read my book, you probably remember it. It's the story about how I was living in an old farmhouse out in the country. And not long after I moved in there, I woke up in the middle of the night. This was like 25 years ago, something like that. I woke up in the middle of the night, and there was a dark, shadowy figure over me. And now I just want to say, if you have kids in the room, you probably want to turn the volume down or send them away. Okay, because this is kind of intense. So it was on top of me, and it was messing with me sexually. That was actually what woke me up, was that it was messing with me. And particular part of my body. Okay. And I had sleep paralysis, so I couldn't move, couldn't do anything. And the next thing I knew, it was morning. And I woke up and I was like, holy crap, what the heck was that? And by the end of my work day, so then I got up and I went to work because, like, what else are you going to do, right? Like, I don't know. So I went to work. By the end of the work day, I came down with the worst urinary tract infection. Like, it was horrible. And, you know, interesting that it was at the same part of my body that was being messed with via the entity attack. And then that resulted in, that eventually spread to where I developed a yeast infection, a candida infection throughout my whole body, through my digestive system, you know, through all the way up to my throat. And it was in my bloodstream. And it was this whole candida overgrowth. Candida is the same as yeast. And we have good bacteria and bad bacteria in our system, and the good bacteria help to keep everything balanced. Everything got totally thrown out of whack, and the bad stuff like was taking over my whole body. And that actually was a direct result of the entity attack that I experienced. That infection in my body, it eventually caused a whole cascade of stuff where then it caused thyroid and autoimmune. So this was 25 years ago when this happened. And now today, 25 years later, I am dealing with autoimmune illness. Now I'm pretty healthy considering, but you know, it can cause just so an entity attack can end up causing just a temporary situation or a whole cascade. And that brings up the final thing that I want to mention, and that is that there are some people who, for whatever reason, and I can't presume to know exactly why, but for whatever reason, they have unique light work to do on the planet, to accomplish on the planet. And so they are, just by natural effect of that light work that they're supposed to do, they are a threat to the dark forces. And so they come under attack by the dark forces. And so there are several people that I know of who are beautiful, I'm going to use the term light workers, people who are here to do really important spiritual work, who are plagued by illness, by chronic illness or serious health crisis, whatever that might be. And for me, mine, like literally, you can go back in time and be like, that's when it started, was the entity attack. So it's fascinating it's fascinating to observe that. It's not fun. It's really crappy, but it is something that does happen to some light workers, and that they are affected by, you know, some of the energies, that they are more targeted by dark forces than maybe other people. Again, I can't presume to say exactly why. It's not that anyone is like higher up or anything like that. It's just that there are some people who are more targeted, and then they might have ongoing psychic attacks, or they might have illness as a result of psychic attack. And the idea is to slow the person down, so they are so busy just dealing with physical survival that they don't have as much energy or ability to do the amount of light work that they would be doing otherwise. So I do feel like some of you watching this might be able to relate to that concept. It's not hopeless though. You know, you just keep on fighting and doing your work. And one of the things about me is if they, quote they, the dark forces, were hoping to shut me down, I am too tenacious and stubborn to stop doing my work. So even when I've been sick, I'm still doing it. So it's just one of those things. So do we have any questions? I'm going to get a drink of my tea. And we've gone a little bit over an hour today. I'm not surprised, because I knew we had a lot to talk about today. Again, remember to keep a balance. There are so many of us on the planet that are dealing with health issues, and it's not necessarily a simple cause and effect. I don't want you to just assume that if you're having a health issue that it's a psychic attack. It may or may not be, but I do believe strongly that it's important to consider the possibility. So Lauren is asking, is your book in stores or somewhere to buy audiobooks? So I was going to work with a publisher, and I decided, because I wanted to have the freedom to write the book exactly how I wanted it, because they were wanting me to change things. They also wanted me to not put my name on the book. And I was like, there's no way I went through hell to learn all of this stuff and not put my name on this book. So, anyway, long story short, I decided to self-publish. And so I self-published on Amazon.com. So you can go to Amazon.com, type in Darkness Disguised as Light. I do believe there's another book with that same title, but this is the only one by me with that name, Maya Zahira. And it's Darkness Disguised as Light, The Hidden Truth About Psychic Protection and the Illusion Matrix. That's a big mouthful, but the main title is Darkness Disguised as Light. Aria is asking, how do we know if it is? Right. So how do you know if it is? If an illness is partially or all caused by spiritual warfare activities. You may not ever know for certain, like 100% scientifically provable, right? Because you can't scientifically prove spiritual stuff. But you can consult with someone like myself, for example. I have techniques that I use psychically, intuitively to check a person, not only if they're under psychic attack, but if they're having an illness, if the illness is related. Those are things that I do in my work. Those are also things that I teach in my mentorship program. But Aria, I know you do psychic work. If you are someone who happens to use a pendulum, then you could check yourself, or if you're asking for yourself or for someone else, you could use a pendulum to check yes and no. That might be helpful. Okay. Anne is saying, boy, do I know that of which you speak. Yes, I know, honey. I do. Okay, so we've gone an hour and 10 minutes, I think. This is your last chance to ask questions, because I'm going to leave in a second here and get ready for, I have an online class that I teach tonight, one Monday a month. And so I'll be jumping onto Zoom and teaching that here in a little bit. Okay, I think we're all done. If you think of any questions, type them in or send me a message. If you watch the replay and you have questions, I feel like this is a really juicy topic and it's a really important one. And I felt like it was one that we definitely needed to cover. So don't be shy about asking any questions. Oh, I see a question here. Shauna, how do we protect ourselves from psychic attack? So go back and watch from the beginning of today's video. I mentioned some other videos. I referenced some other videos on my YouTube channel, Psychic Protection Sanctuary, where I teach about daily protocols. It's really about long-term establishing your long-term protection. It's not a McDonald's drive-through kind of solution. So you do need to be doing a daily practice. That would be a whole other hour of explanation. So I'll just repeat what I said earlier, and that is go to YouTube, go to Psychic Protection Sanctuary channel, and there are some, if you go to the Psychic Protection or the Psychic Self-Defense playlist, you'll see there's a few videos on there with recommendations for daily practices for protection. So that will get you started. If you guys want to go deeper than that, then you would look into some of the programs, but that will definitely get you started. Tina is saying, I have a friend who's being psychically attacked. The girl's not psychic, but she's manifesting very bad things to this couple and all kinds of things happening to them. Don't you think that's considered? I'm not sure what you're asking, Tina. I know you're very intuitive, so I know that you can tune in and determine what's going on. I just know that about you. Um, and I'm sorry that that's happening to your friend. And you point out something important, which is that the person sending it is not aware of energy and is not like a magical practitioner or anything like that. But she's definitely sending very strong intent, and that is enough to send a psychic attack. A person doesn't have to be a master magician to do it. Debbie is asking, is it the mentorship? Yes, Debbie, you are already in the program. You're already in it. Yes. Hey, Shauna. Oh, Debbie. Oh, I see what you're asking. Debbie, it's next Monday. I have 2 groups. I have one that's like personal transformation. That one's tonight. The one that you're in, which is all really deep psychic protection, that's the one you're in. That's next Monday. Okay. We don't want to get too confused. Sorry. Let's see. Shauna. Okay. Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome, Aria. And the class tonight is Sacred Healing Circle, also known as Spiritual Empowerment Academy. That's happening in about 15 minutes. Okay. All right. LOL, Tina. All right, you guys, I do got to go. I went quite a bit longer, and I got to get ready for my other class. Sending you all my love. And as always, post your questions anytime you think of them. See y'all later. Bye.